Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another HFY narration. Today we will be reading Faster Than Light, made by you/SpartanKiwi. Thanks for the writer's permission. Hope you'll enjoy. Let's begin. Faster than light travel is a difficult hurdle to overcome for every spacefaring civilization. Every civilization is surprised when they learn that their method is not the one true method. For example, my people, the Kairites, make use of tachyonic accelerators to transit through variants of time rather than space. This was a technology that surprised the peoples that reached the stars before us, as the Bari instead made use of planet-sized mass drivers. Together, our two peoples were able to explore a vast swath of the galaxy, extending our respective empires in what came to be known as the Kai-Bari Alliance. Our expansion was largely peaceful, as most inhabited planets we encountered had not yet advanced past their planetary bounds, much less their star system, and so they were more often than not very willing to join the Alliance for the opportunity to gain our knowledge. This is not to say there wasn't any conflict. Where there is ambition, there will always be resistance to it, and in our case, there were three major wars, alongside a handful of smaller scale conflicts. The first major war was against the people, the Rastas, who had managed to weaponize the stars of their local group, having constructed some hybrid of a rail cannon and laser in each of their four systems. This was a war that took us several cycles to complete, largely due to our own underestimating of the foes. Even with FDL capability, gathering suitable fleets to conquer the systems after losing our expeditionary fleet to these star cannons, from developing better scouting capabilities to better system management forces after several minor rebellions arose in the systems we had pulled from for our war fleets. The second major war was never really a question of who would, but rather how long it would take. The Epimon homeworld fell quite quickly, but a combination of the expansiveness of their territories, their FTL technology seeming to be some form of self-deletion and reappearance, we never did find out exactly what it was, and their sheer tenacity meant that claiming systems from them took time, as their unwillingness to surrender had us purge them to the last. It started taking us even longer once they resorted to scorched earth policies. We were out to extend the alliance, and that requires habitable worlds, not dead rocks. The third major war was terrifying, our first defensive war. We had deployed scouting buoys to the western sectors of the galaxy, and they had returned very little in the way of life. A couple of planet-bound species, and one that had most of their star system under control. Almost 10 cycles after their first scouting reports, we started receiving reports of spatial fluxes. But the readings that came with them alluded to something different entirely, something we couldn't understand. Then the westernmost Bari mass driver went dark, then the next, then the next. We didn't understand what was happening. I think if we did, it would have just scared us sooner. The cause revealed itself in the Bari home system of Encho. The Bari were smart enough and kind enough to broadcast the event. This broadcast would be the last thing the Bari ever put in the cosmos. The first thing to happen was the destruction of the planet Phaira, an extremely mineral-rich ocean world. It did not die to orbital bombardments, or a planetary detonation. I don't think it was even the target for the species that called themselves human. It died to their arrival. The atmosphere of Phaira was first, as it collapsed off the planet, drawn to a point in space nearby that was appearing to collapse. Soon its oceans followed, then the crust, then the core itself. Then space exploded. The collapsing planet was scattered into a shotgun of rock as a rent tore into the fabric of space, and an utterly gigantic vessel appeared out of nowhere. We all knew a different FTL tech would surprise us one day. None ever guessed that travel itself could be weaponized. Before the Bari defenses could organize, the massive vessel split into several smaller ones that started moving towards the other planets in the system, whilst a swarm of fighter-sized craft moved towards the shattered Phaera and started harvesting its remains, transporting them to the main vessel. That's when it sunk in. This wasn't even a warship, this was a mining rig. Not that was much consolation to the Bari. To their credit, the Bari fought as hard as they could. The home defense fleet deployed against the invaders within hours, the heaviest destroyers moving to engage the largest ships that splintered off and headed to the homeworld of Kitri. The Bari didn't chance risks. All 7 destroyers dispatched unfettered volleys of fire into the first splinter vessel. Anything smaller than the tachyon cannon didn't even penetrate the shields on a mining vessel. Thankfully, the tachyon cannons themselves did, and split the ship in 5, I think. Until that point, the humans hadn't even considered the Bari more than local wildlife. Afterwards, perhaps they considered them more as pests. The main human vessel's dorsal emplacement lit up, a bright magenta light. As soon as the light disappeared, the aft section of all 7 destroyers and the vast majority of smaller Bari craft simply disappeared into another vent that tore open space behind them. It wasn't long before Kitri followed, falling in the same way fire ahead. There were no more broadcasts after that, no more Bari governance either. All we can do now is hope they take long enough to get to us, that we are able to devise some kind of defense. Where there is ambition, there will always be resistance to it. And the humans are ambitious, if nothing else. Against a foe like that, whose military we haven't even encountered, I believe our resistance to be futile. Thank you for listening. I'm glad to still have you here. This one was certainly enjoyable, if not a little dark. If you have stuck around, go and show your appreciation to the writer on HFY. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.